Check it, check it. I decided to make this video because in the last few months I have been lucky enough to speak in front of a number of university students, and quite a number of these bright students approached me and asked questions, lots of interesting questions, but there's definitely a few that are more common than others. So questions like, I still don't have a clear idea of what to do. How do I get into a company like Google? What kind of skills are they looking for? What can I do to take so they can take more notice? Or things like, what are some tips you can give me? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't pretend to be an expert in these kinds of things at all. But personally speaking, I've learnt a number of things over the last 10 years in a number of jobs, I think probably like 7 different careers over that span. So wanted to share some top tips or things that I've learnt that others have found, I guess, thought-provoking or interesting, maybe helpful. We'll see. You can tell me that. So let me know what you think and if these points are interesting for you. So number 1, keep going and don't stop. And everything will make sense in time. Now, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not exceptional. I'm not a talented nor super smart human being. I've seen and spoken to a number and a lot of really smart cookies over my times, especially when I go to these unis. But looking back on why I got to where I am is because I guess I never stopped moving. After uni, I didn't really think about internships. Maybe I didn't know about them more like that's I'm pretty sure I probably didn't know about them more than I did think about them. So I applied for all different types of jobs after uni. And I landed my first job in a cold call sales position in a small search marketing company. That was tough, really tough. But I learned a whole crap load of things. You know, I only lasted a year, I confess. But at that time, I was really depressed and pretty much thought that I wasn't capable or can do very much at all. So I guess I moved on to a whole bunch of other jobs. And I guess kept going one after another. I was willing to try anything. I didn't know what I was going to do, so I tried everything I could. And you guys know how I got into Google? The story goes kind of like this. I once applied for a contract role at Google about what might be, I think, 8 years ago now. And of course, I didn't get it. I was shaking like a leaf, nervous as hell, sweating, didn't know what I was saying. I don't remember what happened. But about 5 years after that, as I was happily working at the Chamber of Commerce, I got a call from that same recruiter asking for a role at Google and asked me if I wanted to try out that role. And I asked what the role was. It so happens that role is pretty much a sales development representative role, which means you do a lot of cold calling and a lot of outbound calls for the Thai market. He still had my file, and he, number 1, saw that I spoke Thai, and number 2, I guess I was a little bit of a fit because of my position in my previous company. And I guess I said, why the heck not? Let's give it a go. And the rest is history. I can tell you that if it wasn't for my first job that I was really scared at, I probably wouldn't have made it past the first interview and would not have come this far without that first really scary experience that I didn't really end up, in the long term anyways. Now, don't get me wrong, there are so many young people out there who get these jobs straight after uni, right? And it's their first job, and that's bloody brilliant. What I'm trying to say here is it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you just, go about it in a roundabout way like I did. You'll actually get to learn a lot of invaluable skills and experiences that I guess big companies like Google really value, but might not be able to give you. You'll get a new perspective, that's for sure. So that brings me to that second point, having a second language. It may not be as prevalent as a few decades ago, but people who are non-English speaking background tend to not appreciate or practice their second language as much. Luckily, my parents made sure that I didn't forget and that I practiced it where I could. So I chose a lot of karaoke, reading a lot of manga in order to practice. And I guess it goes without saying that this definitely has helped me open up a lot of doors into getting into companies. And I can tell you now that more and more companies will see this as, an invaluable skill that people should have. And I'm speaking to you guys, people who have a second language, you guys should practice it more. And of course, lastly, don't think about things too much. Just try. So if you want to improve your communication skills, instead of, okay, communication workshops for sure, but why don't you just try and the next time you go into a lift at uni and you get stuck with some random stranger, just go up to them and say hi, introduce yourself. If it goes really well, you'll get a friend out of it, and you'll also get to practice your random communication skills. And if you don't and everything turns awkward, then just run away and then you can see them later. And I can tell you guys that this is a hard one, definitely a hard one, that I have to constantly remind myself that everything will be okay, and just trying it, it's not going to kill you, and what's the worst that can happen? At this point now, more than ever before, I think it's much more important. You'll find that as you grow older, despite what people say, you definitely become more complacent and become more comfortable. And I guess that scares me. So I just have to constantly remind myself to try out lots of new things. And one of my weaknesses is definitely not finishing very much of it, but I just keep starting new things. Whatever. So I guess that's it. Let me know if you have any questions or if you wanted me to expand on any of the things that you heard. I'm happy to have a chat. See ya. Thank you for watching.